A Jimmy Butler Masterclass helps the Miami Heat edge a win to force Game 7 over the Boston Celtics. Now, this was a very back and forth game, and to be honest, I didn't watch much of the first half, but all I know is that Jimmy Buckets took over the entire game and the Celtics couldn't do nothing about it. What I noticed early on is that both teams were getting into foul trouble. I know PJ Tucker got in foul trouble, Al Horford, Brown, Grant Williams. Both teams got in extreme foul trouble early, and a lot of role players had to step in, and the guys like Derek White were able to step up. And even Victor Oladipo played really good defense, and at the end of the game, he drew the charge that forced the Heat to get the ball late. And I think both teams were dealing with foul trouble. Both teams were dealing with questionable calls. I think the refs really have to be better. A lot of the calls really didn't even make sense. You can even hear the commentator, the broadcast, they were agreeing that the refs have to be better and that what they were making, the calls that they were making were like incorrect. I also noticed that both teams were really good from the free throw line. The 3-point percentages were a lot better than last game. The rebounds were pretty even, but I still have an issue with certain players like Bam Adebayo. Bam could really be the X factor for the Miami Heat and how they could potentially win a championship, but he just cannot stay aggressive. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I only watched majority of the second half, but it's getting really annoying. Both teams are also like in the complete opposite of their offensive schemes. Like the Heat like to play small ball a little bit more with Tucker at the center, and they like more shooting and offensive perimeter game. But the Celtics like to go big, mainly because their wings and their guys are a lot bigger than the Heat. But that's what I've noticed, that the Celtics like to play bigger. They've also run small ball at times with Grant starting at the third quarter instead of Robert Williams. And also, like I said in last video, Robert Williams is the X factor for the Boston Celtics. His ability to play defense, to switch onto guards and big man, his ability as an off-ball defender, and not only his ability to catch lobs, is really great for the Celtics. You could also tell that both teams were going on runs a lot. I know that the Boston controlled a little bit more of the first half. They went on bigger runs, but in the second half, Miami started to take over with guys like Strus starting to hit their shots and getting into rhythm. But we can't deny, this was a Jimmy Butler masterclass, and everyone saw it. It's really apparent, and it's honestly really amusing to watch as we see Jimmy Butler become a completely different animal in the playoffs. It happens every year with the Sixers, with the Heat, with the Timberwolves, even with the Bulls for a little bit. He's just a completely different animal in the playoffs, and nobody could really stop him in this game. He did get into foul trouble a lot, but I think he's a great leader, and what he can do on the floor is absolutely amazing. And the Heat really need it with guys not making their shot for the Heat, especially with Bam being their second option and him not being able to stay aggressive as enough. And I really like what I saw from Jimmy Butler. We already know what we're going to get from him. He's going to be a different animal in the playoffs. He's a dog in the playoffs. A lot of respect for Jimmy. I also have to give credit to Kyle Lowry and Max Strus. I said in my previous video that they didn't even score 5 points, I'm pretty sure, and they needed to play better, and they did. And this is what I mean. Even with injuries, guys like Kyle Lowry and Max Strus, they can still play. And last game, they didn't play well, obviously, because they were more injured. But this game, they both showed up to play. They both did their job. And even when Kyle Lowry fouled out, you saw him being a leader. That is just his natural role in being a leader. Derek White also played really well. He had 22 points off the bench with 4 3-pointers. I'm really proud of him because he's a very good player, and he does exactly what Boston needs him to do. He's just been struggling a little bit, so that's good. Both teams actually were very defensive-oriented in the first half, but they tended to be a little bit sluggish from both sides, and it was more of an offensive game in the second half. Overall, I would say Miami makes things a lot more interesting. Uh, in the end, I do think the Celtics will make the finals, but the Miami Heat will be at home and they have a completely different mindset. I just don't think the Celtics will shoot this bad. They are a pretty good 3-point shooting team. And I obviously have to give credits to the Miami Heat defense. They played really well. But I can see Miami making the finals if Bam plays very well. Obviously, everybody else has to play well, but Bam could really change their entire game. His mid-range game is very easy, and it's so fluid, and Boston tends to play sluggish against his mid-range game. But it's a very good game. Both teams, I felt like both teams didn't play amazing, but the superstars really came out, especially Jimmy. And Miami makes things very interesting as we head back to Miami to play Game 7 on Sunday.